Hi, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing. Today, here on Conscious Business Zone with Zoilita Grant. Hi, Zoilita.
Hi, Kathy. How are you today?
Good, good. I'm so glad to have you back. I'm so glad this is my second time of getting to know you better. And of course, I got to know you. Well, I met you, I think, through David Pazikoff.
Yes,
Yeah,
years
many
ago.
years ago. And then I got to have a session that I'll talk about what we're talking about today. So Zolita, we're talking today about past life regressions. And so tell me how you got interested in this. How did this become something that you became a master in?
So, when I was a little girl, I had two memories that were totally, completely vivid memories that in no way could have happened in this lifetime. One was a memory of being about 9 years old and being put in a boat with all of these huge, kind of like ceramic vases that had papyruses in them.
Oh,
And being told that I had to carry this wisdom to the new land and looking over my shoulder and seeing Atlantis blow up.
oh my gosh. So you were Atlantean.
I was an Atlantean. I was a daughter of a high priest, and he took all of this ancient wisdom and knowledge and he put it on papyruses and he put them in these huge urns to protect them from the water
Uh-huh.
and put me in a boat and sent me off to a new land.
And can you tap into any of that? Do you know what was in it at all?
So this was like the mysteries of how it is that you connect to your soul. And so my entire life, because of that past life memory, I've had this purpose of bringing wisdom to people to help people connect to their souls.
Oh.
And it was such a vivid memory that there was no denying it. And as I got older, I learned to meditate on that memory. I did a lot of work with psychics about that particular memory. But I know in the core of my being that came from one of my past lives.
Wow. And did that give you your sense of purpose to do this work? Because you've been so dedicated, unstoppable, really.
My
All,
whole life.
yes.
And I think that it was that past life memory that kind of gave me a impetus to get into the kind of work that I found as my life work.
Wow. So your second one, what was the second
So
one?
the second one always was very disturbing to me
Oh,
because I could never see the end of it. I could only see the part where I was a young Egyptian queen, my child was dying,
oh,
and I was gambling with the Lord of Death for my child because I would not give up my child. So for a lot of years, I was afraid that, I had lost part of my soul in that gamble with the Lord of the Death, or what was it that I could not see? And I kept like working on it and working on it, and I couldn't like resolve it. And then such an interesting thing happened. I knew that the child I'd been holding in my arms was the same child soul of my son. When my son was born, I knew that. So I knew that that past life thing was connected to him.
fantastic.
So when he was in the 8th grade, my husband and I decided to move to Colorado. We were living in California at that time. And my 8th grade son, well, he was in the 7th grade going into the 8th grade, and we were going to move before his 8th grade year. He made arrangements with his youth group leader to live with them without asking me. And he came to me and he said, Mom, I've been with these same guys all my life. We started in kindergarten together. We've done scouts together. We do baseball together. I need to be here in my 8th grade year. It will be bad for me to move to Colorado.
Wow.
And I'm like, you're 13 years old. How could you make this choice? And all of a sudden, I flashed into that past life memory, and I knew I had to give up my son.
Oh.
And
But
so I said,
different level.
I will support you. You know, he said, Jack and Mary want you to pay for my health insurance. I will support you here. I will do everything. I will let you go.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I knew that somehow that resolved that past life dilemma where I was refusing to let go of my dying son.
Wow.
So that was such a powerful soul lesson for me.
That's fantastic. Well, I was lucky enough to have a past life regression session with Zoilita at April or May this year.
I think so.
And it was interesting because I went back to Egypt as well. And and I've always known this, that somehow I was involved with the pyramids, with being an architect or something about it. And so that's what we revisited. And it was very comforting. It was very grounding and comforting, very clear. Your voice is just like a lullaby to me. So I just have I'm very grateful for that, and I know that people would benefit tremendously to resolve inner conflicts, inner disparities between what they're doing now and why are they stopping themselves. You know, all of those things that our subconscious is so powerful. So this is interesting. Zach put, I have lucid memories of my first embodiment in Atlantis as an engineer. I remembered what I called a Valix craft and used to help maintain the energetic grid around the city. I looked for the craft on the web and didn't find anything. Many years later, I found a reference to a Valix craft during the Atlantean period. I remember that the craft was flown partially with the mine, and you could sense when you were near the edge of the support grid. So anyway, he keeps going. But isn't that amazing? I mean, he says he has other very clear memories. And this was without any regression. I came in with it. Well, Zach is one of these unique people that can do it without help. But most people, I feel, do need help. And they need a safe place to do it.
I think so too. And I think that concept of having a facilitator that can hold that space and really bring in the higher forces to help you learn what the lesson is of that experience. And I definitely can relate to what Zach is saying, because having those memories and the lucidness of those memories, I found that I could develop them more from that memory. Like I started out with just being that girl in that boat, and then I began to see my life and what it was living in the temple and having my father be the high priest and learning how to work with color, to do color healing and to work with the aromas. And it was just such an incredible journey to build upon that memory.
So oops, the audio is a little weird coming through your computer. But anyway,
Let me turn the volume down.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
How's that?
That much better. Thank you. So if time is really happening all at the same moment in this present moment, how do these experiences, how do we bring in the gifts from the past life regressions into this moment?
So there are many things that you can do with past life work. One is to go back into past lives and to get gifts and abilities and to access those through the soul and to bring them into your current incarnation and utilize them. Another thing that you can do is work on contracts.
Oh.
There are situations that come into our life where it's almost like we feel, oh, I have a contract with this person, and we have to resolve the elements of that contract before we unhook from them. Like one time I had a client and she had this situation where her brother was living in her basement and he wasn't working and she was supporting him and he was 32 years old and it was causing problems in her marriage, but she could not let go of that need to protect him.
Uh-huh.
It didn't match any other pattern in her life. So it wasn't like it was a codependent pattern. And she kept saying, I think it's a past life thing.
Uh-huh.
So we did a past life regression. And in her past life, she had been a sailor and her brother had been her lover. And she kept going to sea and breaking the heart of her lover.
Oh.
So one time she went to sea, and while she was gone, the lover died. And when she came back, she was standing on the grave and she said, if I ever run into you again, I will always take care of you.
Oh.
So that was the soul contract she had, that we had to go into the Akashic records and change the contract so that she could give her brother 6 months worth of, warning and saying it's time for you to become self-sufficient.
Oh, that and I've done work like that too. I have to say it's quite profound where you shift instantaneously to a new thought process. It's like part of your programming.
Yes.
Just solves just like that, and painless. Don't even have to know everything about it. That's the kind of stuff. Well, what I wanted to know, because I've got Elsie and Noelle here, I'm wondering about creativity and all the talents that you could bring in from the past lives. I mean, when you do a regression, at least when you and I did it, we didn't select a time or we didn't request. We let whatever wanted to present itself come through. And it makes total sense that either Atlantis, because we probably were together there, Atlantis or Egypt would come through. But I just wondered because Elsie's a creativity expert, and I mean we're always looking for ways that we can change and allow more creativity and creative problem solving to appear and be utilized now, right?
Absolutely. So there's a technique which I call the elixir of immortality.
Ooh, I want that too.
And the elixir of immortality is where we asked that a gift, like the gift of music, that there was a time in the past when you had that gift very strong. And we want to go back into a past life where you had that gift. And then we talk to the past life personality and ask the past life personality if they will transfer the power of that gift to you in the 21st century.
Oh.
And then with the help of the soul, we transfer it. And then when you come back into this lifetime, you have the power of the gift.
So do you have to identify the gift, or do you, so there's a guy named Bert Goldman who talks about that you have doppelgangers, and these doppelgangers are other personalities or other constructs of the whole.
Parallel realities.
Right. So is that, do you have to know what you're asking for? Or could I just ask for all of my gifts?
So lasers are always more effective than shotguns.
I see. Done.
So that when you bring that focus on the gift of music or the gift of art, you're going to get a much more powerful experience than if you just kind of scatter energy.
I see. So, but can you do more than one at a time? Could you clear any contracts and oaths and commitments that were made that are no longer needed, the soul contracts, and then bring in everything that's required for your soul mission for this lifetime? Could you do something like that?
I think it is possible to do that, but again, I think it really depends on the individual
Okay.
and what the maturity of the soul is.
Okay.
Because sometimes in that clearing of blocks experience, and this is a technique which we call clearing karma,
Uh-huh.
you will see things that may be things that you're not completely comfortable. These are the atrocities that you committed. These are the negative elements that were in that particular incarnation for your soul. And so sometimes what we have to do is we have to kind of build upon that by strengthening inner resources,
Okay.
soul connections with spirit guides, angels, whatever the client is most comfortable with. And then we utilize that to really help the client work through those pieces that have to do with clearing karma.
So when you're doing coaching, is that what you do? Is you do the these step-by-step pieces? Because it sounds like it's pieces of a puzzle that needs to be cleared. So you identify as a coaching client what blocks I have and how to clear them. Is that how you do it, Zoilita?
I think that's part of what my spiritual gift is. I have a very good ability to see the big picture and to then help the client get focused on their eyes on the prize.
Right.
You know, what is the prize that they are wanting to achieve in their life? And what are the different pieces that we can put together to help them achieve those elements of that prize?
So Elsie says fascinating. Sonia Day says she's bet we have the best guests ever here. So everybody's enjoying this. If you all have any questions, please feel free to type them in, and we'll get even deeper answers because this is fascinating. So Zoilita, I have questions about the subconscious. Why is it so hard without the hypnosis to identify and shift the subconscious?
Because of the fact that we're really locked into our conscious mind, which is another way of talking about our ego.
Right.
I like to think of that conscious mind as being made up of the judge, the rebel, the romantic, the skeptic, the believer, the victim, the child. I'm sure this will sound familiar to many of your audiences.
Yeah.
And these parts of the personality have agendas and they have opinions. And they don't like to let go of those. So we have to get beyond the personality into the subconscious to best connect with the superconscious.
I see. And so, do you find that most of the people, I'm sure you have great stories, so I should probably ask about those instead of me asking a bunch of questions. Do you have some stories of outrageous past life regression sessions that you don't have to tell who they were, but
Of course not. Of course not. So I communicated quite a bit with a professor by email, a professor that lived in another state.
Okay.
That was a history professor, and he was going to retire. And he wanted to write a novel about a past life he believed he had had when he had been a king in Scotland.
Oh.
And so he came after he retired, he came to my office and we did a couple of past lives. And we did this one past life that was based on this little piece that he had as a memory. And when we went into that past life, he began to speak to me in another language.
Oh my God.
He was speaking to me in like old Scottish English. So I could have like a vague idea about what he was talking about, but I really couldn't understand him. And so finally, what I did was I invoked the Archangel Metatron and asked Metatron to translate for me.
Oh my gosh.
Because I could not even understand what he was saying. And
Right.
then I began in my head to hear the meaning of the words that he was saying.
Oh.
And as part of this process, I connected the soles of his feet to the memory of walking on the stones because he was about to take a trip to Scotland. And that when he found the castle, when he walked on the stones of the castle, the full memory of the life would come to him.
Oh, wonderful. Did it work?
And it worked. And it worked. And he had that experience when he was in Scotland where he remembered it. And it turned out to be different than what he had thought it had been, you know, because he had only wisps of memories. But he ended up writing some kind of novel, or he's working on it, a novel or a short story about that life.
Oh, wow. So how do those past lives affect us now? Is it mostly the ego side that protects us? Is it mostly that side, or is it subconscious as well?
I think it's subconscious as well. I think that there's a code in the soul. And when the soul has experiences, after the death, the soul makes decisions and choices. And those decisions and choices that the soul will make will carry on and affect you. And I can give you another story about a woman that I had that was a client, that was a professional woman that could just not keep a hold of her money. She made really good money, but as soon as she had extra money, her engine would go out, or she'd need new tires or something. She was always struggling with money. So we went back to a past life where that struggle began. And in the past life, she had been a centurion in Judea, and her job had been to collect the taxes. And so she was collecting taxes from poor people to send to Rome, but justified it because she had this idea that Rome was this great, beautiful, magnificent ideal. And so it was okay to take the money from the people because it went for the benefit of Rome. But after retiring, the centurion went back to Rome and found that Rome was like corrupt and, you know, filled with debauchery and just was not the image. And so became very bitter. And when the centurion died with the thought, money is the root of all evil. I will never have money. So when we found that, we connected into the higher self, and we basically created a new statement so that I will always use money wisely.
Perfect.
And it changed the pattern of her life.
So how did you find the life though? Because when you and I did this, which I just loved it, and I'll probably do it again or do some more stuff with you because I love your work. How do you find that exact, because it's showing up as a manifestation here, so you have a trace idea, but you don't really know where it is or why.
But the soul does.
The soul does, but does the soul, so the soul communicates with you and you then guide the person under hypnosis?
I do it more with a direct communication with the client. I take the client into a state of hypnosis, and we go to the river of time.
Right.
At the river of time, we meet the soul. And we go back, we go into a boat, and we begin to go back in time. And as we go back in time, we look for scenes from the life that are connected to this theme. Times in your life when you were lacking money, times in your life. What was it like in the 20s? Going back into your teenage years, going back into the childhood. And then we go through the tunnel, which is the birth tunnel. And we go into a wonderful place called the interlife. And the interlife is kind of, I see the interlife as having stations. Like one station is like a healing spa for the soul. One station is a school where you can meet with ascended masters and guides. Another is the great library, which is also called the Akashic Records.
Okay.
So one of the stations is the transition point where you can go into past lives. And so at the transition point, we state very clearly what is our intention. And we ask the soul if the client should watch it as a movie or experience it.
Okay.
And then we go through that transition tunnel into the past life.
Okay.
And we move the past life along, and the client is talking to me. So I'm not like channeling the message for the client. The client is having the experience, which I think is more powerful for the client.
Yeah, that's what happened to me, but I didn't remember all of these pieces because as soon as you started talking, I was out.
Yeah. But your soul is present and your soul is guiding the experience. And then we go to the place in the life which is the most powerful place
Okay.
for whatever it is that we're searching for. And we learn what we need to learn there. And then we go through the moment of death to see if there were decisions made by the soul and whether or not those decisions are still appropriate for Kathy, who lives in the 21st century.
I see. Well, and that's, see, I've done processes like that before, but somehow it may not, it may not have been cleared to the depths that you're clearing, because that I definitely felt things were cleared afterwards. Is there a way to do, the reason I'm asking these questions about not having to do it piece by piece is because it feels like the times are different now, that the way that we did things for healing and for transmuting negative energy or the blocks. A lot of people's work seems like it's sped up. And it's, I'm not trying to talk about spiritual bypassing, but I am talking about if you go granular like a laser, is there, it may take a long time. So is there anything that you're seeing? Because the energies are so different than they were even 5 years ago. I mean, remarkably different.
I think that one of the things that happens in that speed up of the energies is that the transformation is more profound. Like something can be actually resolved in one session. And so when I talk about past lives, I say you don't even have to really believe in past lives to get a dramatic effect, because it could be a metaphor, or you could be tapping into the collective unconscious. Or you could be connecting into your DNA and into your ancestral memory. So there's many explanations, but whatever the explanation is, the impact is profound.
It is.
And when I'm talking about using a laser to focus, of course, many other things will be affected as a ripple effect, but the power of focus is really incredible. And when we bring that power of focus together, really miracles can happen in people's lives.
That's right. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, so Elsie just put a question. How might Zoilita explain the importance of being open to this type of experience for the evolution of creative leadership in the world?
I think that is really important because I believe that we have been incarnated in these difficult times to really bring the light back into the world. And so there are past life personalities that had powerful forces of light. And when we access those personalities, it just amplifies what it is we can bring to the world, which is one of the reasons I want to teach other people to do work on the layer of depth that I do work.
Right. Well, that's part of the reason why we're having this conversation today is Zoilita has a past life regression practitioners training coming up in October, the 12th through the 13th and the 11th, November 9th through the 10th. And she's teaching people how to do this. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you teach this? Because I mean, you're amazing. You are so gifted in how consciously connected and empathic you are with people. Can you teach this?
I definitely can. And what I do for past life work is a blend of shamanism, of alchemical hypnosis, spiritual healing. And so I put those things all together to create a program. And this is actually the last time I intend to teach this program. I want to take this body, because there are so many things I do in my life, Kathy.
Yeah.
You know, and there are areas in my life that I want to focus and develop from, here on. So all of this stuff is compiled together in excellent manuals. It's a very experiential class in the sense that you will actually be practicing doing past life regression, doing inner journey work. I'll do a lot of demonstrations, so people will get a lot of personal work in the workshop. The first part is the past life regression. The second part is called inner life journeys. And it's about how to work in the inner world, how to work with the soul group, how to work with the Akashic records.
So do you need to have the first class in order to take the second, or can they stand alone?
No, you need to actually do both of the classes. If you do both of the classes, you get a certification as a past life regression specialist.
Oh.
And you will actually know how to do this. And there's a niche for this in the area that we live in, particularly.
Right.
Where those are beginning to realize, oh, that could be a past life thing. So there's definitely work that you can get in this area. And it's such a service.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's such a service to people.
Do you need to be a hypnotherapist to do this?
Absolutely not. This is a training where all of the skills that you need will be well taught and well practiced, and you will have great manuals and wonderful scripts that you can work with.
Wonderful. So I'm going to put up your website so people know how to find you. Is the class listed on your Mindset for Success?
All you have to do is click classes.
Okay, super. Okay. So you guys, I have been listening to Zoilita's hypnotherapy, and she has
not hypnotherapy, hypnosis, because I don't do therapy. I basically do coaching.
Okay, sorry. But anyway, I've been listening to those recordings and really have enjoyed it and really can feel a difference. I also was benefited. She gifted me one of these past life regression experiences, and I was amazed. I mean, it came at a difficult time where I'd been through a terrible emotional breakup. and I really needed some grounding and some other perspective, and it really, really helped me. So I highly recommend her work. I highly recommend that. Zoilita used to have a school, and I don't know if she's doing. So most of her work is online now. So there's an opportunity to work with a master that you may not have, as she just said. She's cutting back on all these classes, the one-on-ones, and do coaching and online. Although I have to say, your online stuff is powerful. It's really good. It's really good.
I've fallen in love with small business owners. And so I've become a hypnotic small business coach. And I believe that small business is kind of like the backbone of rebuilding America. And so I have a passion to help small business owners become really successful on all levels in their businesses. And so that's where my focus is moving. But I have all of this wonderful, great past life stuff. And I put together this really incredibly not complex, but in a lot of depth training. You know, we start out by learning how to develop your own spiritual energy force, because you are really a spiritual guide. When somebody's having a past life experience, I'm experiencing it. I'm seeing it, I'm knowing it, I'm feeling it. And so being able to be in that level of consciousness takes training of the mind.
Right. Well, I do that too with my customers. I go into the Akashic Records and they show me a movie of what their soul wants to produce in this lifetime that's waiting to happen. So that's been my experience. And I did take an Akashic Records class, but I was already doing it, just didn't know how to explain what I was doing. I still don't have words for what I'm doing, but I know that it's profound, and I know that it's a time for all of us to really clear our blocks, to show up completely in service to the all. And this is the only reason that we came. It looks like contrast right now. It looks like chaos. It looks like everything, but it's falling apart to rebuild. And so the more of us that have made conscious choices to be part of the stable, peaceful beings in the chaos, to bring this knowledge in, the better. And I really, really appreciate, Zoilita, what you do. And you guys, if you're local and you can take this class, it's going to be in Colorado. If you're not local, please go to Zoilita's site and check it out. You guys will be amazed at the quality and the consciousness, because that's the best word I can say, because this is a way for you to really reconnect to your divinity again. And it's time.
I think so.
We're doing this, right? So is there anything else as far as another way that they could connect with you, Zoilita? Do you want them to use your email? Should I put that?
Certainly. Go ahead and put your email up. And I want to invite everyone to join my Facebook group.
Oh, good. Okay.
I have a wonderful Facebook group called Mindset for Success. It's a totally positive group. It's groups where there are tips and tools about how to build your mindset for success, how to take care of yourself in chaotic times, and there are no political posts in the group.
Thank goodness, because so much of this is I really appreciate your positive, uplifting perspective and the work that you do, because I do believe every single person here is a gift and came here to make a difference in this big time of change. And whether they can actualize it or not, this is the journey, and your tools, Zoilita's tools will help you self-actualize, and it fairly quickly without much pain and stress. So
Yes,
that's what the deal is. You don't have to relive your childhood traumas. You can just release them.
absolutely. You know, there are different ways that we can change. Like one way is through evolution. One way is through transformation, where we change from the inside. The third way is transmutation, and that's where we change from the level of the soul.
Right.
And when we change from the level of the soul, the ripple effect goes all through our lives.
Yes. Hey, that's what we're here for. And thank you so much, because you're bringing these gifts at the perfect time. I'm hoping I'm getting out the messages so people know about your gifts and will use them on their journey, or get a hold of you if they feel they'd like one-on-one coaching as a small conscious business, or if you're local, to take this past life regression practitioners training. As you heard, Zoilita is not going to be doing these in-person trainings much anymore.
I still do past life regression. So
Okay,
if anybody is interested in a past life regression, but one of the reasons I want to do this training is so that I now have wonderful people to refer to.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I got chills when you said that. That felt so good. Thank you so much. So I think we need to sign off. Zoilita, anything else? One last thing? Anything that you want to say?
So I want to leave everyone with this thought. When you change your mind, you change your life. Create by design, not by default.
Yes.
See you later.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All your work. Thank you.